Buongiorno, buonasera, benvenuti amici, welcome my friends. My name is Vincenzo and welcome to my channel, and that channel is Fountain Pen Therapy. Another weekly recap, folks. I've got some very nice special things for you this week. As usual, I will try to inform and entertain. We've got a new paper, or at least I've got some strategy for paper, for at least for a couple of weeks now. I'm going to explain that in a second. We're going to continue some of those ROHRER KLINGNER inks. I'd like to finish them off. That would, in fact, complete the review of my collection for those inks. I've got some pens that I would like to revisit for you. As usual, I've got a pencil and pen haul. I've got two really nice pens that I want to introduce to you. And then I've got some news for you for some nibs. So it's really like three pens, if you will. I got one mechanical pencil to show you as well. I've got some plan for a major series that I'd like to introduce to the channel for 2026. I'll talk to you about that one as well. I've got my weapons for next week all lined up. So, ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, here is Fountain Pen Therapy's weekly recap for January the 25th, 2026. Okay, so for the first segment, what's new in the market? What's new in the market in terms of inks, paper, and pens? Well, I got some pens for you and I got some inks, but nothing new as far as I can see in terms of paper. So let's take a look at, first of all, the Chinese market. Folks, I've pulled the trigger on this pen. It's the limited Ongdian D6 and 18K. I know I've showed it to you before in previous recaps. It comes and goes, folks, because it's such limited quantities that I think 365 days, and he calls himself now 365 days Urushi Raiden Pen Store Trader. I think it's just a second store, if you will, where he does more expensive pens. And it's $467.68 Canadian, which is what? Roughly 320 US. I mean, they're selling Esterbrook pens at $300, which I don't think are worth $300. This has an 18 karat gold fine nib. Now, some of you, just out of principle, coming out of China, you'll say no to. I don't have those same political obstacles, or I wouldn't say convictions, but I'm just a pen guy. I stay away from politics. I think it's a gorgeous pen. I'm hoping it will not disappoint. I was in touch with my friend at Fontaine-des-Plumes, and when I mentioned this pen last week, and he said, "Oh my God, I can't find it. If I had it available, I would pull the trigger on it." And because he said that, I bought it. I said I can trust him. And I won't hold him to it if it's a total disaster. But anyway, all to say that it's coming. The next one is this Balaoi. This is the pen that I've ordered. It's kind of wood with this kind of rainbow color. But what's intrigued me is this flex nib. It's kind of a flex long knife nib. I'm really looking forward to receiving that pen. So both have been ordered. I don't know if I mentioned this pen, Creative Tang Moon. I think these are really attractive starter pens at $23. Again, I'm not sure I ordered it or I will order it, but it's something that you should take a look at. They come in different colors, especially those of you who are beginners. At $23, this Tang Moon in the past has not disappointed me. The nibs were actually pretty good. So there you have it. Okay, outside of the Chinese market, what have we got? Stile's got these, they're not the only ones, but I have this new Benu pen, which is out, and $235 US, folks. But it kind of looks a little more, less flyé or less, in terms of color and splash, less splashy, so a little more conservative looking. So that's something I looked at. It's a special edition. Next thing, I wanted you to take a look at Vazier. Vazier are Indian pen makers. He's got some really nice pens that he's put out. Check on the shop in USD, and once you get in there, you'll see I really like this one. Limited stock. I might order it at $135. I think that's US. I think that's a gorgeous pen. You get a Yowo nib, so nothing out of the blue. I think it's Yowo or Bach. Anyway, one of the two. Does it say? No, it's a Schmidt. Yeah, it's a Yowo nib. So, but I think it's very attractive. But he's got all kinds of pens there, not expensive. So, an alternative Chinese pen, folks. Pen Chalet, they've got their inks and their special edition inks, and you can find them on Van Dieman's site. If you buy them on Van Dieman's, you'll get 10% if you use my code, which is fountainpentherapy. I've ordered these inks. They come in this gorgeous orange and or kind of an amber, this blue, this red, and this kind of violet. I've ordered all four, so they should be coming in. Van Dieman's, one of my favorite pen companies. So they come well recommended. So there you have it in terms of what I found interesting and that's new in the market. Some nice stuff coming into this channel, so stay tuned for that. Well, let's look at what we've got actually on my desk. Be right back. Okay, so let's look at what we've got new for you. We'll start with some paper. And then we'll look at the inks, we'll do some swatching, and then some writing with the pen, writing instruments. So for paper, here's my thoughts. I think I've mentioned it already that I'm struggling to find an alternative for Tomoe River paper. I've asked you, the viewers, to suggest some papers, and thank you very much for the suggestions. So far, all of the suggestions made, I have. So I'm in a position to evaluate. In other words, I don't need to purchase any of them. The question is just to go through them all and try to see which one, in my view, is the best alternative. So what I think what I'm going to do, and that will allow me to also provide you with some different notebooks from week to week, and is to go through all of those notebooks or paper that I think are viable alternatives for my Tomoe River, which is quickly dwindling, okay, the original. Just because Sanson has not convinced me. So obviously Sanson is on the list, but let's take a look at others. People have suggested Midori, they've suggested Iroful, they've suggested bank paper, and this paper as well. So let's take a look at it. So what we're going to do is going to go through them from week to week, and then maybe once I've compiled enough information and my reflection is kind of complete, I'll introduce a video showing the alternatives and why I chose, and maybe my top 3 alternatives to Tomoe River paper. How does that sound? So let's take a look at the first alternative. Here it is. One of you has suggested this, but I already had this for some time. This notebook comes from a notebook provider by the name of Danica58. And I'm going to leave down in the description a link to her site. I think she also sells on Etsy, or at least she used to. But I'll give you the direct site so you can take a look at what she has to offer. And it varies from week to week and month to month. This is what they refer to as B as in Bob, so B7 Natural. Very nice paper, I got to tell you. First of all, the notebook comes in this brown, in this blue cardboard paper, but it has a plastic sleeve, which is always very, very nice. I already did some swatching on it way back when. I've been doing some writing on it recently. I've done some reviews, etc. So what I propose is that we're going to take a look at this paper. So far what I've seen, it's that it's very smooth. It gives me a thick line because some of the paper, for example, Rhodia and Clairefontaine, I will not get the same thickness because it's all about ink absorption, I would imagine, that I do on Tomoe River. Tomoe River, I'd say, is just ideal. It's not too much and it's not little. And that's the problem with Sanson, I find. It gives me a thinner line than the original paper. So this one gives me a very smooth, as opposed to, for example, Midori, which gives you a little more friction. Or Fabriano paper gives you a little more friction. Or Cosmo Airlight, for example. It gives me thick line. It's very nice. It is thick paper, by the way, so that's not the same as Tomoe River. So Tomoe River, in a notebook, you can put hundreds of pages. It's so thin. And that thinness is very attractive. But it is smooth and a thick line. So what we'll do is, of course, we will do swatching and also writing on this notebook. And we will compare. And as I've stated in a previous recap, what I'm going to be doing for the swatching is, rather than using up my Tomoe River original, we're going to be using the Tomoe River Sanson, because it does perform very well with ink, so it gives you a good indication, probably one of the best. So we will continue, and this is a notebook from Yamamoto paper. I've got like 4 or 5 of these things, so we can go through them very, very nicely without me not necessarily wasting, but dwindling my supply of the real thing. So that's what I propose for you for this week. Now, the notebook is pretty simple. It's ruled. I think it comes in various models, grid or the grid dot. I'm not sure. You can check in the website. There's no numbering. There's no nothing. It's a simple notebook. Rule, I think it's 7 millimeters, if I'm not mistaken. So that's the paper I've got for you. The inks are right there. So let me do the setup, and we'll start to do some swatching. We'll be right back. Okay, so we're back, all set for the swatching. What are the inks that I'm going to propose? As I mentioned last week, we did some kind of magenta, purplish, violet sort of inks. This week I've got all kind of the red tints, if you will. The first one is, this is a Iron Gall ink, Scabiosa. And yes, some of you mentioned that you got to be careful with some of the inks from ROHRER and KLINGNER because they are a little bit tough on pens. This one is probably one that would be, because it is Iron Gall, so you got to be careful there. The second one is this Pernambuco ink. Again, kind of reddish orange, but we'll see which one is more red than others. This is the Morinda color. And this is probably one of my favorites, the Alt Bordeaux. So in English, is it Alt? Old Bordeaux would be the English version of this. So those are the 4 inks that I propose. And we are all set for the swatching. So let's put down here, find our page. There we go. We are all set. So let's start with Alt Bordeaux. Let me just put one towel right next to me here. Okay, as usual, we are using this folded pen as the swatcher, if you will. Okay, so that's the Alt Bordeaux. Very nice. Right away, I can tell you that the B7 is a lot smoother than that Sanson. It also, don't forget, it's also very thick. So let's write up the ink here. That is ROHRER and KLINGNER. And it's Old Bordeaux. Just add that here. Very nice ink. In terms of color. And it's drying up really nicely on both, I would say to you. Okay, so that's that. I'm going to try not to put ink all over my fingers. We'll see how long that lasts. Now, we're talking about Morinda next. So, Morinda. Wow. Really vibrant red. I've forgotten how vibrant this red is. See, that's the beauty of having lots of ink, is that you forget about some of them, and then when you bring them out again, and it's been years since I've used, these were probably some of my first purchases. Got them all on Amazon, I think. So this again, yeah, really nice red. And you know that us Italians, we have, well, not all of us, but in Morinda, we have this fascination for red. It's all because of our Ferrari, of course. You know, that Ferrari red is so unique that I think they even have a patent on it, if I'm not mistaken. But it always fascinates us. At least that's my view. Okay, Morinda. We're done for Morinda. Next, what do we have? Pernambuco. Pernambuco. That's interesting. Pernambuco is the name of that pen I just bought in Spain. One of the Grafon Faber-Castell pens that I showed you last week, and which is going to be subject to one of my reviews soon. And we'll announce a new series just in a few minutes. Okay, so this kind of a more on the orangey shade, if you will. Less vibrant red, more orangey. I don't use very often orange inks. Although I'm tempted sometimes in some of my, I think where I always end up putting oranges in my Edison Collier orange swirl pen. It's like I can't see myself putting any other color in that pen. Well, other than orange. So, Pernambuco. My hands feel like ice this morning. Yeah, keep in mind that it's very early. And I'm doing this as early as possible just to make sure I get it. So this appears to be a slightly more drier ink because I'm having just problem even writing that name there. Usually there's enough on this nib to keep me going. So that's the Pernambuco, which again appears to be more of a red-orange. Lastly is this iron gall that we always have to be careful for, ink, which is the Scabiosa. So, now don't ask me anything technical. All I know is that when we hear iron gall, you can even smell it. It's tougher on pens. And I'm sure some of you, or one of you, will give me all the technical background, which is well appreciated. If I can only remember it. Okay. So, this is and I'm going to put iron gall in brackets. There we go. Okay, so we're done with these 4 inks. As usual, we'll let them dry, come back, just see how the inks end up in both of these, or this paper, the Sanson and the B7 Natural. I gotta tell you, I really like this paper. I really like this paper. Right now, the thickness of the page is what's getting me a little bit turned off, but let's give it a go, right? We've got to give it a go because we've got to find an alternative. Dry up, be right back. Okay, so we're back with the inks, nice and dry. Gonna tell you, I'm pleasantly surprised with this B7 paper. Now, we all know that Sanson is probably, even in terms of how it brings out the inks, even better than the original. And you know what? I'm getting similar look. What I do notice is that these are a lot darker on the Sanson than they are on the B7 Natural. But, you know, I like the shading on this one. I like the shading on the B7, and they're pretty close. Now, Sanson is Tomoe River. It's 52 GSM, so you're going to get some, you know, obviously some penetration there on the swatches, but pretty good in terms of the ghosting. Not much there, even better than the original, I would tell you. And you do get, unfortunately, some penetration there for both, for 3 of the 4 inks. I think the only one that survives is the iron gall. So that's something that I will have to consider. And this notwithstanding the fact that this is much thicker. So we're going to be doing, we're going to do my weapons for next week, which I've, you know, put some ink in them. Maybe it's because I'm using the, you know, that dip pen makes a difference. We're going to put some inks in real pens and test this paper B7 so that I can make some final determination as to whether or not it will survive my alternative Tomoe River paper list. So let me get out the weapons for next week, and we'll be right back. Okay, so we're back, and we've got some new pens for you. What do we got? Well, let's take them one at a time. They're both in their boxes. This, of course, is the TWSBI box, so you can probably imagine what this one is all about. It's the new TWSBI Obsidian, which I will review in detail, but I just wanted to give you a glimpse of the pen. This is my purchase guarantee. It comes in with instructions for the cleaning and for the lubricating. As usual, you get the key to open up that piston. You get a little bit of, I think this is the more liquid one that lubricates fine. It gives you instructions, a typical TWSBI box. Very, very efficient, very nice, and useful. Folks, I really like this pen. I think it's quickly becoming my favorite TWSBI pen. I've used it all week, and I got to tell you, what I like about this, as opposed to all those demos they have, the 580, the Echo, and the 700R, is that it's giving me some beautiful, beautiful resin. With the TWSBI there, look at the chatoyancy on this pen. I think this is a gorgeous pen. We will do a detailed review. It's got what they say rose gold, but I got a feeling it's more bronze than it is rose gold. In any event, I have, I think, another bronze one. It's kind of close, but look at the trimmings. I mean, I really like the trimmings on the threading there. That nib is just gorgeous. I don't know if the camera is picking it up, but that color, that's why when they say rose gold, I think it's more bronze copper. But whatever it is absolutely gorgeous. I am so happy that I've gone back to TWSBI. Been a long time since I purchased a TWSBI pen. This one ran for, I think I have the bill right here. I purchased this at a local store, so I saved on shipping and custom and duties, but of course the pen is always more expensive. It's 170 Canadian plus tax. So you know what? At $170, I think this is a good candidate to compare to some of our Chinese pens to see where it stands in terms of that comparison. It's a beautiful pen. We will see how it writes in my detailed review. So that's the first one I have to propose for you. The TWSBI Obsidian. The next one is a pen that I received for review purposes, and I told the pen manufacturer that I would do a review, but that I would do a review that I would limit my review to the recap. It's a pen that comes out from TAG, and I noticed that there's been several reviewers, including Fig Boot and SBR Brown, that must have gotten the same offer, and they've done a detailed review of the pen. It's the TAG Submarine. It comes in this nice box. Very nice gold writing there. I think the packaging is wonderful. Really nice. They call it the Submarine, and you'll see why soon. Write with quiet power. Submarine turbine-driven refill. So it's got a very unique feature that I think is worthy of mention. So again, the company is TAG, and I will leave in the description a product link that will give you a lot more of the details of this pen. It's called the Submarine. Well, it's just upside down here. It comes in this, I think the packaging is really, really nice. It's all paper, but so recyclable, but still very well done. Take a look at this. Again, write with quiet power, TAG. It comes with a little cartridge. Here's the pen. Pen is gorgeous. I mean, when I first took a look at this pen, I said to myself, wow, what a nice pen. Now, the beauty of it is in the shape. Take a look at that. It's supposed to, of course, evoke a submarine. You've got this turbine finial here, and we'll explain what that is. It drives the filling mechanism. And take a look at this little kind of, it's kind of like a motor, right? And that is made out of concrete, believe it or not. The whole thing, you think, is brass-based. Take a look at just the grooves, so well done. The clip is very unique, springy, works really well. I really, really like. It's kind of a matte finish. This black matte finish is just really, really nice. I got to tell you, I'm very pleasantly surprised. The pen appears to be, the build quality on the pen appears to be just fabulous. All the integration is done. Here it's smooth. You know, the connection here is not, you don't have one sticking out, or so you can tell this is been done very, very precise. There, of course, just, you know, very subtle tag done in light gray. So very subtle and minimalistic look, futuristic, and really, really nice. It unscrews. You got this very nice threading. The threading is very smooth, non-obtrusive. The pen is a really nice size without capping, without posting it. And again, I like that submarine shape where it goes from, you know, thicker at the middle and just cigar shape. And take a look at that nib. Now, we've seen this nib before. This is a Schmidt nib, which I think is an excellent choice by them to go with Schmidt. Schmidt are extremely underrated. In my view, an argument can be made that they're even superior to Yowo and Bach, certainly superior to Bach in my estimation. They always write really, really nice. I think they come in fine and medium. It also comes in a gold-plated version. I prefer this black because it just matches the pen so nicely. The capping does have a little bit of a step down, so I think this pen should not have a problem with drying. And of course, their main technology is driven by this turbine. And what the turbine does is when you turn, and now I've got some ink in there, but I'll try to remove it off camera. I don't want to spill anything. The turbine just works a converter underneath. So give me a second because I don't want to spill the ink on camera. I'll open that pen up and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so I'm back. Just to show you, see there's this hexagon, I guess, shaped steel mechanism that triggers or that engages that turbine at the end, and so you can fill your pen without unscrewing the barrel. You fill it out, or you could, you know, simply remove it and, you know, just do the regular filling if that's what you prefer. Now, I think they have to work on being able to remove the barrel easily. There is a way to do it by playing around with it a little bit, but other than that, I got to tell you, it's very practical, right? Because, for example, now the pen is empty. All you need to do is really, you know, crank it up, go into the ink bottle, and there you have it. You don't have to open anything up. And they also suggest in their instructions that if there is a little bit of drawing on that nib, all you need to do is really just turn the turbine just slightly, and it will create a flow and get it going again, which is what we call priming, right? You can prime your feed. So, I mean, that's the pen. We're going to do some writing with it shortly. We're going to, you know, in our section where we will write with all the pens, with some of the new inks as well, with that TWSBI as well. But this is just an absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous pen. Now, Figboot talks about a price of 144 US. I have mine in Canadian. It's about 200, 210 Canadian, depending on where you buy it. The product, I'm not sure if the product link provides a price. I've seen them on Amazon as well. But I will try to provide as many links as possible in my description so that if you are interested in this pen, well, there you have it. It's been sent to me free of charge for review purposes. I think I really like this. Now, the price, you know, it is a little steep, but I got to tell you, pen prices have gone up. I don't know if you've noticed. So, you know, for $144, you don't get what you used to get anymore. And given the build quality of this pen, the look, very classy. And it writes beautifully, by the way. I've been writing with it all week. You know, it's something to consider. It's certainly an alternative. It does, you know, look really nicely around a conference room table, that I can tell you. And they're working on it. They told me that they're always constantly improving on it. They're thinking about perhaps putting a little ink window in there somewhere so that you don't have to dismantle the whole barrel. They're thinking about improving the finials. There's all kinds of things that they're always looking to make this pen perfect. So we may even be surprised later on with other models. But in any event, TAG, company to keep tabs on, so to speak. So there you have it. Thank you very much to TAG for sending me the pen for review. And I hope that provides an outlook on this pen. So if you've seen it before and have asked some questions, here you have it. Now, what else have I got for you? Okay. I've got a nib that I want to discuss with you in detail. Let me set it up and I will be right back. I'm back. I've got to show you how this tag writes. So this is the tag submarine pen with a black Schmidt number 5. This is a fine nib. Can you appreciate how beautiful that nib is? I don't know if they've done any tuning to it. Usually Schmidt are pretty good, but even this fine nib, I mean the broad Schmidt nib is just, and I would recommend to TAG to make all the Schmidt nibs available, fine, medium, and broad, because that broad will probably get them more sales. That's my opinion. It writes so beautifully. But there you have it. I think it's a great pen. Writes really, really nice. No skips. Fairly wet. So it's very wet. Very smooth. And very constant. Well, congrats to TAG. Gorgeous, gorgeous writing instrument. Very nice. There you have it, folks. Okay, I'm back. Now, we're talking about a nib, and it's a MAJOHN nib. You'll recall that Wing Sung has come out with their new nibs, number 8 size nibs, which are fabulous. I think great improvement over their previous FM version. It was kind of a fine medium grind with the old Wing Sung branding. And Wing Sung now has brand new ones. I think they have extra fine, medium, and the bold as well, or the broad. And MAJOHN has come out with a new Sun nib. Let me explain. I ordered this thinking that I was just buying the extra fine version of their Sun Expedition nib, okay, which is this one here. There's an E on it. I had fine and medium. I said, oh, let me test the extra fine. To my great surprise, when you compare, and let me just take another one. Is this a Sun nib? Yeah. Well, this one's kind of dirty. Let me see if I can find one that's a little cleaner. Yeah, this one here I think should do the trick. This is their medium nib, okay? Now, I can tell you that there is a difference between the two, okay? I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but there is some relief there. It's kind of 3D-ish. The engraving is very different. It appears to be bolder on the new extra fine than it does on the medium. And now I understand they're offering this new nib in fine and medium as well, except I was a little bit disappointed because that nib, the new one, is not springy at all. I mean, one of the best features of that Sun Expedition nib, that differentiated it from the Moonman number 8 nib, which we found on the 141, which is this one here. This one is stiff, whereas the Sun Expedition Fine and Medium were nice and flexy. They were bouncy. They gave you that nice writing experience. I'm not getting that same bounce in this Extra Fine. The feel I have on this one resembles the Moonman number 8. Now, let me give you a written demonstration. And maybe we could use, we'll use my Tomoe River paper. Okay, let me just cap these because they're going to dry up on me. And I'll show you what I mean. First of all, let's take a look at the old. This is the MAJOHN. Well, why isn't it writing? Okay, here we go. MAJOHN Sun Expedition Old. I don't know if the camera will pick it up. See that flex? It's nice and soft and smooth, and you can get actual line variation because of it. Take a look at that. Okay? I'm not getting that same feeling out of this new nib. So this is the... Now, it is an extra fine. Now, is it because it's extra fine? MAJOHN Sun Expedition New. It's stiff. See that? As compared to, let me just, even this other one, which is another medium. So this one, look at the tines on that. Okay, this one here, the new one, it's very stiff, very stiff. Now, is it only on this extra fine because they want to keep the line fine? They've made it stiffer. I don't know if that makes any sense. In terms of line, I mean, you can push it a little bit, but the tines don't nearly open up as much as the other one. Now, am I going to get the same springiness on the fine and medium version of this nib, of this new nib? I'm not sure. At the time I ordered this extra fine, only extra fine was available. I've noticed now that you also have the fine and the medium. Let me show you AliExpress. Let me just go to my camera and to my computer. Here we are. Yeah, you see they are offering, now that's the extra fine. You can get it with or without the feed. And because there's a whole issue of the feeds that fit the 141 and the 140, as we mentioned before. This appears to be the medium, the new medium. This is the fine, the medium. And they all appear to be that new look. I think, in any event, it's the new look. It's difficult to say. They're also introducing these kind of blue-tinted MAJOHN nibs with different motifs. There's a panda motif, either in black or in blue. So I'm not sure whether or not now we have a brand new MAJOHN Sun Expedition nib that is not as springy. I hope not, because the main feature of the MAJOHN P140 and the P139, as opposed to the P141 that came with that Moonman nib, was that beautiful MAJOHN springy number 8 nib. I just hope they haven't taken a step back. But I thought I'd mention, if you're going to get it that extra fine, It is smooth. It is certainly a very nice nib. I mean, let's look at it again. Let's go to my overhead camera again. Play around with it. You'll see that the nib is just very, very nice. So this is the, I mean, it is extra fine. So it does, you know, it does go into the paper a little more. But for an extra fine, I think it's very wet. And in my view, very similar. Now, I've played around with this Moonman nib. Is that the Moonman? Yeah. So this is the Moonman number 8. Can you see how much I played around with this? It's now wet and it's writing like a medium. What I did with this is that I separated the tines and played around with the surface a little bit. So now it's wet and juicy. But originally it played into that very fine and not scratchy, but kind of, you know, it's like you're writing in plastic. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have that flow. But again, that could be a function of extra fine. And I've never been a fan of extra fine. I mean, in the old days, I wouldn't even touch fine. Now I've discovered the fine nib, and I think it's fabulous. So in the end of the day, even that extra fine, you know, when you look at it, is writing like a fine nib. So there you have it. Those are the three writing instruments or pens, fountain pen news that I had for you in terms of pen hauls. I have one mechanical pencil. Let me put all this away, and I'm going to show you what I have to propose. Well, folks, here's the mechanical pencil. It's from LEUCHTTRUM, 1917. I think you may have seen these. They also come in ballpoints or roller balls, I believe. This is the pencil. Isn't that fabulous? I think it's a sharp-looking, slimish side. This is a, I think it's a .05, if I'm not mistaken. But very, very nice. Not too many frills and mechanisms on this pencil. Is fairly straightforward. Now I'm going to spell this wrong for sure, but LEUCHTTRUM, LEUCHTTRUM, 1917. Tell you, writes really nicely. The lead appears to be very, very hard because I'm not snapping it. Very nice. So that, I think I'm going to get maybe the ballpoint. I forget if it's a ballpoint or version or a roller ball. I think I'm going to get it because and maybe a different color. I think it's very nice. This is a beautiful type of thing that you can put in. Do I have something here? Yeah. For example, in some of the notebooks, does this one have it? No, this one doesn't have it. But where you get, you know, some of the pen loops on pen covers, and, you know, you're looking for something thin, I think this fits in really nicely. You wouldn't have any problems fitting in any loop, frankly. So this is a pencil for me to take a look at and use on a daily basis. So there you have it. I thought I introduce my only pencil for this week. There it is, and that, I think, sums up my writing instrument haul. Be right back for the next segment. Now, for this next segment, let me just take a... How to wake up. Here's my cappuccino. For this next segment, I want some pens revisited. I'd like to revisit a couple of pens with you just to show you where we're at and how things can change from one week to another, if you will. So, if you go to my overhead camera right away, that's my notebook. Last week, you remember that my weapons for the week were these Marte Modena pens, which are kind of Delta-inspired Dolce Vitas with different nibs. And between you and I, folks, they were a complete disaster. I mean, some of them dried up on me. Let me see if any of these right. Marte Modena. Actually, this one was probably the most or the best performing one of them all, the dark blue. Just because it had that stipula nib. I won't bother with the rest because they were just a disaster, okay? So I was, I hadn't played around with these pens for a while, and now I know why. It's a pity that I'm wasting, I think what I'm going to do, that I'm wasting those stipula nibs on these pens. What I plan to do, and maybe we'll show those next week, is I'm going to take all these stipula nibs, remove them, put back the original Marte Modena nibs, which were Bach nibs essentially. If I'm not going to use these pens, we might as well just put back their original nibs, and I'm going to take those stipula nibs, because the beauty of these stipula nibs is that they're like almost 0.09, at most 1.0, but they don't write as thick as a 1.1 and certainly not as thick as a 1.5. So they are very nice nibs. And I'm going to think about which pens I'm going to put them on. Maybe a Chinese pen. I was thinking about, starting to use my Pen BBS pens a little more. And some of those drier nibs I can replace with this. So I've got to think about it. If I have anything to propose to you, I'm going to let you know next week. So that was that for Marte Modena, which is, at least now I know. But they'll be in my collection, and maybe one day I'll wake up and they'll give me a completely different tune. Next thing I wanted to show you was, remember this? This is the new Scribble Flow that I received for review purposes. And the option I have now is to return this pen or keep it. Luca did offer a very kind discount on the pen if I kept it. And I think I need to make a decision. Now, it's got that beautiful, so this is the Scribble. How can I say no to this pen? Scribble Flow, really wet and juicy, okay, with that feel the flex. Fine nib. Folks, what can I tell you? How can I legitimately return this beautiful writing instrument? I just, I could save a lot of money for sure. But you know what? The flow with all those facets and this beautiful ebonite, I discovered, and that's that ink, I've discovered that this Jacques Herbin Shogun, which has a little bit of that, reddish, goldish sheen, is just perfect for this pen. What I've asked Luca is that, now I noticed that the pens that I always have the feel, the flex fine nib. So I've had all the same nib, which is silly of me. I should have ordered them in different sizes. So I've asked Luca I'm buying from him a fine nib. I want to see how the fine nib writes on this pen. And I might even ask him to send me a fine and a medium. That way I could show them to you. But, I haven't quite decided. Well, you know what? I'm making a decision now. Let's call it. I'm ordering that nib, and I'm keeping this pen. There you have it. Now I don't have to be as careful. It will form part of my collection. I don't have to constantly keep it in this nice leather casing. I can put it and use it as often as I want. So there you have it. Announced, I'm keeping the Scribble. What else have I got in terms of revisit? Now, a lot of you have criticized me for not liking this Pen BBS 470 because of my struggles with that filling system, which I'm quickly realizing is maybe not warranted. That this pen is in fact much nicer than I've originally estimated it to be. You know, I thought it was a light pen, and now every time I pick it up, I say, well, what happened? Did it get heavier? So, you know, you wake up in the morning sometime, you're in a bad mood, and there you have it. It's Pen BBS, it's in the way, and you crap all over it. Sorry for the expression. And I think it was unjustified. Let me just see if it writes. If it doesn't write, well, then we got a problem. I think I've been overly critical of this pen. That nib, and it has that kind of architect tip to it, if you will, is what convinced me that, written with this pen all week, that I think I'm slowly changing my mind on this Pen BBS. And I wanted you, the reviewers, to know about it. So there you have it. One can always change their minds. Revisit this urushi painted Janau 9019, which is not the most perfect urushi paint job. There are some, little irregularities in there, but man, does it write nice. Let me just hope it writes. Yeah, and I've got it with Hiroshizuku Yamabudo. Man, this heartbeat medium nib, number 8. And just the way it feels in your hand. Regardless, yes, it's not an urushi, but it doesn't cost $10,000 either. I think it's worth it. I think it's a beautiful pen. I'm enjoying it, so I thought I'd revisit it. Next, now I'm going to be doing a very detailed review of retractable pens, but you'll remember that I purchased this Janau 20, and it's crap, folks. I don't know. People are telling me they're enjoying this pen, but look at this. It's dry. It just, and it was dry after like 2 days. Same thing with this Rytec. I really enjoyed the way it wrote, and I've left both pens, by the way, this way so that the ink can, flow down. Let me just see if this writes this morning. It didn't write last night. Yeah, you see it. It just garbage in, garbage out, folks. I don't know what to tell you. I'm going to keep looking, keep trying. I've been told that the Janau 20, the difference with the Janau 10 is that it's a slightly thinner model, but we will be doing a detailed review of all of these retractable pens in due course. But I just wanted to mention to you that I'm having problems with both pens. Let me know if you guys have any suggestions. One viewer suggested that I replace the cartridge converter by an actual cartridge, which kind of seals better. I don't know what I could do for this Rytec, but I mean, the consolation is that they're both very inexpensive. So I guess, like I said, garbage in, garbage out. So there you have it in terms of pens revisited. Do I have anything else to mention? No, that's it. Stay tuned for the next segment. Okay, so my weapons for next week. Well, as I mentioned, I did receive this TWSBI Obsidian, which I immediately fell in love with, and my detailed review will tell you why, with my final recommendations. And I thought that for next week, I want to use this pen. So I thought that it would be TWSBI week. And here's my TWSBI pen collection. I think there's... one second. I think I have one missing. Yeah, I did have one missing. It's this mini. So I've got a series. Actually, we should put them all in. I've got the Diamond 580 ALs, I guess they're called. This one is the more recent version, which is the 580 ALR in this beautiful kind of a matte purple. I've got my 2 Echoes. This one I think is more of a limited edition. I forget now. I've got to my TWSBI Goes. I think that's what they call them. I've got my 700 R, and I've got my TWSBI Mini right here, which is an addition to this, along with my TWSBI Obsidian. So those are going to be my pens for next week. I'm breaking my rule of 6 because I did say that I would, from now on, write with 5 or 6. But you know what? I want to write with all of them, so it's going to be the TWSBI week. We'll put them in a bigger pen case, and we will do our best to enjoy them all. Now, before we do that, as promised, I want to do some writing. And we're going to do some writing on this natural B7 natural paper, just to see if it is as bad as it looks on the swatches. First of all, let's look at the TWSBI. Actually, you know what? We're going to show you the writing sample of this one in my review. So we'll skip that one. Now, hopefully all of these write. I did ink them with, some of them are inked with the new inks. Yes, so this TWSBI, so this is the TWSBI Diamond and I guess purple. It's got a fine nib, which writes just really spectacular, I got to tell you. And this one's got the R&K Old Bordeaux. Just writes beautifully. Well, yeah, you can't go wrong with these TWSBIs, eh? I know I'm really high on Chinese pens, but these Taiwanese TWSBIs are also spectacular. This is the TWSBI, and it's the diamond oh, the paper's squeaking orange, because it does have that smooth coat. It's got a steel broad nib, number 6. Ink is unknown. These are one of the pens that was previously inked, and I just don't know what ink I have in it. Sorry. It does look like SBR brown, but I'm not sure. Okay, this TWSBI is the TWSBI. I don't know why I put okay, here we go. This is the Diamond 580. I guess light green or light teal. It's got the steel, and this has a stub. I think they're all 1.1s. Yeah, 1.1. One of the things I notice, and you'll see that in a minute, is that these stubs are not always consistent. Some of them are thicker than others for some reason. The ink is Graf von Faber-Castell Deep Sea Green. Now, this was the ink that I put on some other pens that were fine, and I find that if you use it on a fine nib, it just doesn't do justice to the ink. But it certainly, you can see how well it matches. It certainly does justice on a stub. or on a broad, I would imagine. The next one is a TWSBI again, a Diamond 580. I would say it's in this pink. And this has the Marinda. Again, oh, by the way, the nib is a broad nib. And you can see the lack of consistency. Look at this broad compared to this broad. This is a lot thicker in my view. This is almost like double broad. And this has the ROHRER and KLINGNER Marinda. So we'll put a big X here, and we'll put a big X here, because we'll see how they look on the other side in terms of evaluating the inks I'm just showing you. This is the TWSBI Echo White. And it's got a 1.1 stub, which is really writing thin as compared to this one. So there is the ink on in this one is the, let me, do I have it? Oh, unknown. But I think it's Hongdian. I think what they call it, bluish gray. Beautiful ink. Those Hongdian inks are just we'll revisit them just because I need to order more. Next, and you'll see another difference. This is the TWSBI Echo. Now, I forget what they call it. It's the blue with the brass. One second. Yeah, I was looking for a name, but it's not brass, it's rose gold. So again, they're trying to, that brassy looking finish on the trimmings, similar to the obsidian. They call it rose gold, but in my view, it's more like copper or even brass. But this has got a 1.1 stub, but look how thick it writes. Now, I just want to make sure do they have 1.5? I can't see I think it's a 1.1. I don't see an inscription on the nib. But I think they don't have a 1.5. So, and what ink is in here? Unfortunately, unknown. I can't remember. I just can't remember which one it is. It's a beautiful one in any event. It has some red sheen. So let's look on the other side so far, how it's holding up. Yeah, it's going through. Going through again. Survived, believe it or not, that orange, but that's just too bad. So it may, now this is the, and you know, there's a lot of them are stubs here, so thicker. This is the TWSBI Go. I think they call it the TWSBI Go. It's got, again, it's got a 1.1 stub. And here the ink is R&K Scabiosa. So that's that iron gall ink, which is probably the one that will survive best. Yeah, very little penetration on the other side. It's too bad because the feel of the writing experience is really, really nice on this paper. The difference is that you'll get some ghosting on Tomoe River that some people hate. but I won't get this kind of penetration. That's the difference. So I'm going to take some notes at the end of this recap and kind of summarize it. But there you go. Scabiosa looks more like blue than it does purple or violet. This is the TWSBI Go. Again, a 1.1 stub. You can see that I purchased these pens early on, so all you see is stubs. R and K, and this is the Pernambuco. A little more red than orange, in my view, so I'm glad to see it right. Again, what a beautiful writing experience. And it's just unfortunate that it doesn't pass the test. Let me see what it looks like on the other side. You see, it gets some pen. The moment is a little wet. It gets into the, if you can tolerate that, the writing experience is fabulous. Then I got one, I'm having a hard time pulling it out. Where are we here? There we go. This is my VAC. So this is the TWSBI VAC 700R. Again, 1.1 stub. Now, very imaginative. What does this have? The ink is unknown. But it really looks like an Iroshizuko or Zuku, Tami, forget the name, but that black ink. That's what it looks like, and that's what it feels. Again, great writing experience, but just probably doesn't pass the test on the other side. There you go. A little bit better, but not. I don't recall if this will write or not, this little TWSBI. This is the TWSBI. Yeah, it hasn't been written on with for a while. Let me just prime it. See what happens. Beautiful. TWSBI Mini. This probably is Konpeki, but this has been inked for a while. And it has a what is it? Do they call it a? No, it has broad. So that's a broad nib. Nice little pen. I've forgotten how much fun it was to write with this thing. These TWSBIs, you know, I think I've underestimated how nice they are. It's nice to pull them all out again and spend a week with them. We'll see. I'll come back next week and I'll let you know whether or not they're a disappointment or whether or not they passed the test. But there you have it. That is my, or those are, we should add the new Obsidian, because we will be playing around with that pen during the week. These are my weapons for next week. Be right back. Okay, so for my next segment, which is YouTube reviews, I'd like to talk about what's coming up soon and an idea that I've had for future videos, other than just straight up, pen reviews. Want to kind of add a little more spice to those pen reviews, if you will. Now I'm going to put up on the screen an older video that I published some time ago, which, by the way, did very, very well, which was Grail pens. I had one on Grail pens, which you see here. So those, it kind of visited all my Grail pens at that time, or the pens that I considered Grail, giving a definition of what can be considered Grail, etc. Then I have another video, and I'm putting it up on the screen right now, which was Grail pen alternatives. For those of us who don't have the means or don't want to spend the money on what usually are expensive Grail pens, some people would say by definition, although that's disputable. You don't want to spend that kind of money, or you don't have the money to spend on, thousands of dollars on pens, which is, between you and I, could be very ridiculous despite our means. What alternatives do we have? Do we have something that can give us a similar writing experience, or that gives us that special feeling without spending the money? And so I did a video on that, comprehensive. I tried to take all the Grail pens and provide some insight. Now, you've all heard that prices have gone up. In fact, Alexandra had a video, had a reviewer from an independent pen maker, I believe, and they were going over, how prices are going up slowly. The converters is kind of tripled the price. You've got the nibs are more expensive. You've got Sailor, announcing its price increases, almost doubling their cost. You've got Hemingway Jones talking about, that Pilot Custom A23, the pen, the ideal pen in terms of both price and quality and writing experience, etc., which is now going to cost maybe more than $400. It's gone up. Is it still worth it? Does it lose its category as the pen to have? So given that we're increasing our prices, or the prices, not our prices, but prices are going up. And the same thing goes for these Chinese pens. I mean, the old days you can get them for $20, $30, and now you're seeing $40, $50, $100. You're getting gold. You're getting gold offerings, gold nib offerings. You're getting ebonite offerings that cost $400, $500, $600. What I thought I'd do is, and also given that I have several Grail pens that have come in, or that I consider Grail, I'm going to take the Grail pen, visit the Grail pen I've received, and provide alternatives. So that Faber-Castell Classic Pernambuco will be reviewed, and at the same time, I'll provide some Grail pen alternatives. I have that M800, which I consider the Pelikan M800 as a Grail. That's the Grail. This is the way it writes. Do we have any alternatives that can give us a similar experience? And we'll go down, and I won't, spoilers alert, I won't spoil the rest, but I have others, and I think I'm going to do a series. So it's going to be the Grail pen alternative series, and it's going to be kind of a continuation of those Grail pen videos that I did, maybe 2 years ago. So that's what I've got for you coming up soon, so stay tuned. So it's going to give a little bit of a twist to my pen reviews, hopefully, at least for a little while longer. It doesn't, not every pen I'm going to be reviewing have alternatives in our Grail pens, so it really will only apply to what I consider to be Grail pen alternatives. In terms of videos that I've got for you coming up, I may be publishing 2, I'm not sure, but certainly you've got my notebook and journal setup for 2026. Here's the thumbnail for that. That's ready to go. I just mentioned I've got a review of my Graf von Faber-Castell Classic Pernambuco that I purchased in Spain. And we're going to do some comparison. It'll probably be my next episode in that series, if you will. I've got others as well, but those I think are the 2, and I'm undecided which one will be published next week, and maybe you'll get the benefit of both. We shall see. So that is in terms of YouTube reviews for my channel. Of course, last week what I reviewed is you had my recap, and you had my I hope you appreciated that. It gave you a little bit of insight into my own personal enjoyment of my vacation and the places I visited, along with a little bit of pen stuff as well. So I did my Spain and Portugal trip. I reviewed it there, and my visit to a pen shop, some of my traveling pens and how they did, etc. So I invite you to take a look at that review if that's interesting. And of course, you've got my recap, the first recap of the year, which is always, I mentioned, it's never time sensitive. Other than the pen market, the rest can be consumed at any time, frankly. Just take a look at the headings, the titles, and you can find something there for your review, information, or enjoyment. As I say, in terms of YouTube reviewers, I did have a few to look at, so here they are. So in terms of other reviews, I've got 3 to propose for you. First of all, Hemingway Jones did an absolutely fabulous job on his video entitled The Pen of a Psychopath. I mean, only Hemingway Jones can have something like that. So original. And he goes through, well, I don't want to, spoiler alert, but he looks at a pen and he somehow manages to make a case for the pen being the pen of a psychopath. I don't want to spoil by identifying the psychopath or the pen, so I invite you to view it. I think it's entertainment at its best. He did a great job. He considers it one of his best videos, and I agree with him. Very nice, Tim. Very nice. The next one is Wonders Unlocked. He's becoming one of my favorite YouTube reviewers. I like his relaxed, style. Not pretentious at all, and gives us lots and lots of juicy nibs and pens that you and I never have the audacity to, or at least I don't. Let me speak for myself. I'd never have the audacity to pull the trigger on, and he does it, and it's great to see. In fact, he's probably inspired me to buy one of those 14K Chinese Wing Sung nibs. But what he does is and I haven't seen him really criticize some of the more expensive offerings, especially available on 365 stationery stores, I think he's called. But he had a bad experience with Wing Sung Urushi coated pens. And I think you should take a look at that video just in case you're wondering or considering. You may want to take a look at that video, and there may be a follow-up to it. But he was not happy. And I think it's important that you have that information. There's also, speaking of information, there's Alexandra Richardson. Her site is Alexandra's Art and Sanity. Has a Rob Sanchez of Rob's Penworks as a guest. And they go through, the title is Tariffs, Increasing Production Costs, and the Pen Industry at Large. So it's a little pessimistic and it's a little negative, but it's information that unfortunately we all have to, pay attention to. And hopefully it's not going to be as bad as it appears that it's going to be. But I'm going to tell you, it's just going to make the Chinese pen market even more attractive, especially if they come out with some offerings. And I've got that pen that I mentioned to you, what's new in the market that's coming, and I'm looking forward to it. Spend a lot of money on it, but hopefully it will be worthwhile. So those are the pen reviews for you. So that's it, folks, for this week. If you are not subscribed, please subscribe, like, alert bell. It'll help the channel. Enjoy your pens, paper, and inks, and most importantly, be well.